Hi everyone, welcome to Tarot Basics. This is going to be a video about learning the cards and helping with remembering and understanding their meanings. I have come up with a good way to kind of remember exactly what all the cards mean and how they all interact with each other. And it's not a super unique method. Plenty of people use this same method. You'll hear a lot of tarot readers talking about the cards in this way that I'm going to show you. Um, but it's really helpful, and unless someone tells you, a lot of times you don't think of using this to help remember them. So I'm just going to start and talk about generally about a little bit of the history, a little bit of what tarot is and how the deck is composed, and then get into the cards. So what is tarot? Tarot is the art of using a deck of designated tarot cards to get information from divine source, spirit, universal powers, or spiritual entity in a form that's easily understood and interpreted by a reader. And a reader can be anyone. There are some people who hold the belief that if someone wants to read tarot, they have to first be gifted a deck before they can actually use a tarot deck. Um, and that is something that a lot of people believe very firmly, is that their first deck must be a gift, or they have to be gifted before the ability to read tarot is activated. Um, and this is easy to do by asking someone you know and love to buy you the deck. You can even tell them which one you want. Say, can you please buy this for me? I know it may seem silly. If they're not into that, then you can say, I know it seems silly, but this would mean a lot to me. And I'm sure somebody would be willing to do that for your birthday or Christmas or Hanukkah or Yule or whatever holiday celebration you're celebrating, um, or any celebration, or just for fun because they love you, etc. Um, but that's not necessarily totally necessary, because depending on what spirituality you're coming from and what your beliefs are regarding tarot, um, you may or may not find that step or that beginning necessary in such a way. So this is going to be what works for you and what makes sense to you, and it's highly personal. So be that as it may, um, let's move on, and you can make those decisions for yourself. I'm not going to tell you what to believe there. What is the history of tarot? Now, believe it or not, tarot used to be a card game that was played for leisure and gambling purposes, similar to how we play cards in modern times, solitaire, things like that. They didn't actually even used to have words on them, because most of the people who used these cards were illiterate, so they were just images that represented things, and a lot of the cards that we know today were not in play in the older decks, but it was originally used as a divination tool in 1781, and even then it was still really different from what we have now. In 1909, the Rider-Waite deck was created by Arthur Waite and Pamela Colman Smith, and that is really what became the tarot we use today. Of course, there's thousands and thousands, probably tens of thousands of different tarot decks and styles of tarot, and there's oracle cards, there's all different decks that you can use, and decks that are tarot specifically, that follow varying formats. But one of the more common, basic, staple tarot decks in the tarot world is the Rider-Waite deck. And in fact, I'm going to be using that deck here as the example pictures for this, because it's very widely recognized. A lot of decks use the same cards or very similar card equivalents. And sometimes they change the name of it, but it's generally the same card, or there's a little nuance difference to each deck, but this is a really good basic understanding that will help you understand other decks as well. So, looking at the tarot deck, we have the major arcana and the minor arcana. And the major arcana are essentially the cards that are major identities within the deck. They have big personality, big traits and qualities that are life-changing. When these show up in your spread, that is a life-changing moment that it's representing, or life-changing aspect of the situation. The minor arcana they more deal in the day-to-day things, but are still nonetheless extremely important and give a lot of excellent insight into the situation. Um, we have, we're going to start with the minor arcana. We have the suit of swords, of cups, of wands, and of pentacles. And each of these suits has kind of its own feeling to it, or its own general meaning, and we'll get into that. So the swords are all about action, thought, and words, basically what you put out into the world. Um, Very much action based, very much doing. They say some people are thinkers, feelers, and doers, or dreamers, and all those things. Well, this is a doer. But it's also thinking, because when you're thinking, you are creating. As we all know, the more you think of things, the more it comes into your reality. And so, um, this is about thinking, saying, and doing, because it's what you put out. Um, Now, also, all of these have the court cards, which are the king, queen, knight, and page, and then the numbered cards below, with ace being number one. Um, just like an ordinary deck of cards, frankly. And but so yeah, the swords are really about those. The cups are about emotion and really about relationships and a lot of thought and emotion that goes into that. Some intuition, some there's intuition also in the wands, and we'll get to that. But the cups are mostly about emotion. I feel like when I look at any of the cups, the greatest and biggest influences on relationships with people and emotion. So the wands are about intuition and um, magic. And by magic, I mean your inner spirit, your inner source of power, whether that means your willpower, your wisdom, inner wisdom, um, and your really sense of inner knowing. This is really about your passionate, vibrant inner self. Um, and then the pentacles are mostly about the material world, finance, career, material possessions, abundance, and wealth within the material world. I like to think of the pentacles in that way by being little coins. Especially in this example, they look like little coins, kind of, and so it reminds me of material wealth or material belongings around finance and career. So we went over the four suits a bit. Um, Swords, actions, words, thoughts. Cups, emotion, intuition, creativity. Wands are intention, motivation, passion, energy. It's that life force that you have within you. Um, Pentacles are money, work, and possessions. And again, it's the day-to-day life aspects here. Um, Additionally, have represented the four elements here as well. Um, and I think that's a really awesome um, correspondence. The pentacles are very much an earth-based item, because pentacles, I'm working backwards here, I'm sorry, I'm working where I left off, but the pentacles are earth-based because that's the material, and wealth, which is also green. You think of when you want a money speller, when you need more abundance and wealth, you're thinking fertility, and that's green, and pentacles, that's earth. Wands are air, and traditionally in a lot of the earth-based religions, you use a wand um, to represent the earth or the air element in rituals and spells and things like that. So wands are really, if you think about it, you're kind of waving it around in the air, or it has kind of a stoic air-like presence to a wand. Um, Cups are the water because, well, it's a vessel, and frankly, it probably holds water. um, but emotions, intuition, creativity are all very water, feminine energies that are traditionally very water linked. Swords will be fire, And we can all probably think about and imagine why that's linked with fire, because there's such an aggressive, um, forthright, and direct, just like fire. Fire has such a spirited connection with positive action. So let's move on to the court and the composition here. We have the court cards, which are the king, queen, knight, page. I have accidentally included ace here, but I consider it almost a court card in some respects, and I know that some people do and some people don't. And I said 1 through 10 here, and that is just merely a typo. It would be 2 to 10, with ace being number 1. Um, and these really have, the way you really remember is the court cards are like personalities that kind of intermingle with each other. And then the numbers are like the story playing out. And I'll explain it here. Um, so, to remember, the king is the person, or the card that embodies the fullest version of the suit. So you have swords, which is action, words. They're the decision makers. The king is the one that makes it all come through to the end, to wrap it up and really make it happen. You've got a goal or something in mind. The king card showing up really shows that they're the one that drives this through to completion, and they are the most controlled and not well versed in the ways of its own suit. So the swords were action. For example, the cups were emotion. So the King of Cups is going to be a master at controlling and managing their emotion and the situation. So if you see a King of Cups, for example, you know that you're experiencing, or that somewhere in whatever context of your reading, um, there will be a complete control and resolution in emotion or in your relationship somehow. It'll be a really balanced, um, well handled moment where you have a full grasp, essentially, of the domain of the King of Cups, which is emotion and creativity and intuition. And then you have the Wands, um, and again, this is like, uh, having motivation and willpower and the drive. And the King of Wands is the master of self discipline and motivation. And Pentacles would be absolute gross abundance. Like, not gross as in disgusting, but gross as in ample abundance, which that's kind of a redundant phrase. But, it's just extreme financial stability, wealth, um, charity, and material possession that's not necessarily like you're hoarding or anything, but you have absolutely no lack at all. Um, and so these kings are like the domain leaders of all of the things that each of these suits represent. Um, and then that moves us on to the queen, who's the nurturer. And the queen is a character or personality, and I like to think of them as personalities, um, that is mature and deeply wise and understanding and nurturing, and kind of behind the scenes to always help you on your way to your endeavor. Always, when this card shows up, when any of the queens show up, they're really all about reaching your goal in a way that's comfortable, sustainable, and really natural for you to reach it. It's not this intense, hard fight. Go, 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 go. It's really a subtle and beautiful endeavor, the journey. And that's really what the queen represents, is that you can find the fruition of this in a way that's a beautiful blend into your life, in a way that's nurturing, and fosters a lot of growth for you and a lot of beautiful experience along the way. And that's not to say you can't achieve that if you see the king as well, but the queen is really emphasizing that. And moving on to the knight here, the knight is highly driven, action taking with a goal in mind. I actually like to think that I am kind of a knight in reality, because I'm the kind of person that once I have a goal, I'm filled with ambition. Okay, I have a million ambitions. But once I've got a goal, I just charge full force. Well, I am a Taurus, so that does make sense. But I just charge full force onward, tunnel vision, ignoring everything in my path, just I will reach the goal until it's done. And I feel like the knight really embodies that. Sometimes they rush too forcefully. They don't have the experience and wisdom that the king and the queen have. And so they make very quick change, a lot of movement and action. They symbolize a lot of opportunity. But when you see the knight coming around, it's a big sign that yes, you can charge forward with this knight, but you need to make sure you're not rushing without thinking, because that literally never ends you well. I mean, luck favors the prepared, am I right? So, definitely the knight is a driven, powerful, you know, let's go get 'em card. And you can really match that with the Knight of Swords is the epitome of that situation, because we've got this knight that's just, you know, all action, get it done, let's do it. And then you have the Knight of Cups, which is really the same way, but maybe rushing a little too fast into a relationship kind of a situation. Um, really applying that to the emotions, or feeling things in a really heat of passion. Uh, and sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's good to leap on that opportunity, but don't forget to think about it, because the knight is not a thinker, he's a doer. And all of these knights are. In fact, Frederick here, I like to think of the Knight of Swords as Frederick. The Knight of Cups is Richard. The Knight of Wands is Ricardo. No, I don't know. I'm just making this up as I go. Okay, but you can name them if you want and give them a whole story. Um, the Knight of Pentacles is going to be Edward. And Edward is really rushing in for money, man. He's like, see this coin of mine? It's mine, bitch. I'm gonna go get it. Anyway, I'm getting carried away. So the page is filled with opportunity. The page is the beginning of something new, and I like to imagine that the Page of Swords is actually a woman, because, you know, you could kind of maybe picture that as being a woman, even though I think it was maybe intended as a man. I really don't like that all the pages are male. Um, Maybe the Page of Wands as well. Actually, they could all be. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so, but the pages are all young, enthusiastic, learning and discovering new things about the world and themselves, filled with ideas and opportunities and invitations, beginning of something new. That kind of naive, almost, optimism, which is, I'm not saying optimism is naive at all. If anything, I'm like the world's most optimistic person. But um, they're the ones that come up with the idea. And then the knight takes the idea and runs with it. The queen helps balance the plan a little, gently guides the whole endeavor, and says, okay, yes, but let's, maybe approach it in this way, a little subtly. And then the king is the one that says, all right, yes, this is great. Now this is how we execute it. Or is the one that says, um, all right, everyone, we have the page had a great idea. The knight, you're the one who's going to be my workhorse. You're going to get it done. The queen, you kind of oversee and make sure everyone's taking care of each other and themselves and not working themselves too hard. And then he directs the whole game and makes it all actually happen. He's the project manager. Um, Basically, yeah, the king is the project manager. The queen is HR. The knight is the workhorse, and the page is the brainstorming group. um, so yeah, that's really, and then again, you apply all these same principles from the swords, the cups, the wands, and the pentacles. Um, Swords being action, cups being emotion and relationship, the wands being motivation and inner fire and power, which I think Page of Wands is like right next to my heart. And then the Page of Pentacles being, all these great money making ideas, all these great, um, anyway, you get the point. So you're applying all of these qualities of these cards to how it applies to the swords, cups, wands, pentacles. Okay, now we have ace. The ace is all about new everything. For the ace of swords, it's going to be new action, new things ahead. Um, Ace of Cups is going to be a new romance or a new friendship or new feelings about something. Um, Ace of Wands is going to be new project or goal or opportunity. Pentacles is going to be an opportunity, usually maybe with your career or opportunity to make money or pick up something that you really wanted. So these are really all about brand new starts in all of these categories. Moving on to the twos, it's the next step after the beginning. So now we're kind of on this story. Okay, we've got the start. Um, that page had a great idea. Then the knight started charging. The queen's making sure things go peacefully, and the king's making it all happen. Now this is the story that they take. Okay, the next step after the beginning, um, for example, for the swords is, or for the cups, is partnership and unity. Um, so you've started a new relationship. That was the beginning. Now you have a partnership and unity, and things are a really nice start between you and someone else. Um, and then for the swords, they're tough decisions. You know, you've started out on this journey of action taking, of whatever this is, and now, of course, after you start, you begin to face some new steps. What comes next? What are after the ideas and the breakthroughs? Um, and then for wands, you know, you've got this awesome new goal or this cool passion you're running towards, and now you've got a plan for the future. You've got to figure out what progress you need to take. You're going to make progress. You're discovering what comes after the new opportunities. What comes after the opportunity showing up and you've seized it, now what? Um, and then with the pentacles, you're setting priorities because you're maybe taking a new job, so you're going to set the priorities. How are you going to manage your time now? What comes after the new career opportunities and abundance that you've just gotten? This new money. What are you going to do with it, basically? So aces is the new thing coming into your life. The twos are what do you do after it came into your life, basically. The threes are an expansion of that suit or the theme. So now you're after that step two. Now what do you do? If you take the topic of the twos and you just ramp up the volume big time, some of these aren't so great, okay? Uh, with cups, you've got friendship, creativity, celebration, a tribe of good friends, you know? You met someone new, you bonded with them a lot, and now step three, you've got this great group. You've got the celebration, this creative boost. Um, Unfortunately, a lot of times with the swords is very much action driven. So you take and you, just like we showed on the previous, you were trying to make your decisions and things, but if you ramped up the decision making, you get a lot of sadness and pain and heartbreak and grief because maybe you made some of the wrong decisions. Maybe this isn't going well, you know? And in fact, the sword suit, the first couple, or the first, two in the swords are great. Number four is okay. But basically, the swords kind of suck. So just remember, the swords are like a war, okay? You got some triumphs in the battles, and that's really the first two cards. And then maybe there's some moments of peace between battles, but otherwise the swords are war and fights and not good stuff. Um, and then you've got the wands. So what came after you're figuring out your um, like where you're headed now with this awesome goal you have. Now you have the progress you wanted to make, the expansion, you're traveling, you're well prepared. And then teamwork, learning, and productivity with Pentacles because you've got your new job, you figured out what your time management's going to be like, and now you're really getting to be productive. You're learning your job, you're making friends at work, and things are going in that direction. And this is kind of, I think of it as going uphill. You're making a trip uphill, not like it's a hard fight uphill, although maybe it is sometimes, but um, your life is going from kind of the bottom of having nothing to, ooh, now you got something new. Now things are moving upwards, things are looking up. With the exception of these swords, because war sucks. Okay, and now you're at the fours. Four is homecoming. It's a break. It's security, stability, peace. You've been going, going, going. You've been moving forward through all of this. There's always a time you need to step back or you need to come home. You need to stabilize the inner self, the foundation. And that's kind of what this is about. It's not saying you need to stabilize everything, but the fours are all about security, home, your home, stability, peace. Talking about cups, it's meditation, solidifying your inner relationship, and emotional stability and contemplation. So it's really looking at yourself as being the home, because it's cups are all about emotion and relationships. So this is about your emotions and your relationship with yourself coming home. Swords is about rest, relaxation, meditation, going inside and gaining the stability. Imagine if you were in war, this is kind of the reprieve. This is regrouping, getting all your fighters together, all your hired swords back together and thinking about it. Um, what's your next step kind of a thing, but not so much planning, more just regrouping. Um, and then you have your wands, which is homecoming, stability at home, celebration, harmony. Um, it's a really good marriage sign, in my opinion. A lot of people think of the cups as being more toward the marriage thing, but I think that the wands is really like your driving force on a spiritual level, and that makes a good connection with a driving force that's a stable home, driving together as a team kind of a thing, um, which is just more added, like, I'm thinking of the word drive, but it's not the word drive that I'm looking for, but you get what I'm saying. So the more people who are driving towards the same goal, the more powerful that's going to be, kind of. So it's kind of stability at home, harmony at home, having that touch back down to your group, your home. Security and financial savings, stability and pentacles, um, building up that 401k kind of, just you can see how the sturdy foundation with in number four is like four supportive pillars holding up a house, kind of. So fours is all about home, coming back inside, and regrouping, which is necessary to move on because five sucks for everyone. So once you've regrouped, just think of five as like the worst thing in the world. Okay, but it's not really, because these things teach you a lot, and this is a lot of change and a lot of, you kind of have to fall in order to appreciate the highs, kind of a thing. But fives are the tipping point. Okay, you've reached the top of the mountain, and now number four was kind of like, okay, you reached the top, now you can take a break. You've been climbing all this time, you reached the top, now you're just gonna rest. You reach five, and you start to fall down that damn landslide, because cups is regret, disappointment, negative thought, failure. Just, I hate that card. Okay, but you learn through those things. By regretting things, you learn. And anyway, this is just a basic, I'm just basically explaining all this to you, okay? But there's a lot of, these cards can have a lot of different connotations and a lot of different applications to the situation. Sometimes it's not direct. Sometimes, like in swords, your conflict, destruction, defeat, competition, it's not literal competition or defeat. Sometimes you feel defeated about something, or sometimes you get that feeling you just want to throw your hands up in defeat. You're like, ah, I can't even finish my laundry. I swear to God, I just have this giant pile, okay? Maybe that's the simple feeling. It's not such a severe thing. It doesn't always have to be some life-changing thing. Sometimes it's just acknowledging that sometimes we feel kind of defeated. Sometimes we feel tension, conflict, and all these things. And it's through those moments that we learn how to deal with that and we learn how to move forward through that. So that's what these are about. It's the learning how to overcome all these bumps. So you have the cups. Okay, we talked about it. Swords, conflict, destruction, defeat, competition. Okay, our war is obviously not going well. Conflict, disagreement, tension, diversity, clashing because we have too many passions going all in different directions. So they're clashing with each other. You know, too much of a good thing can be too much of a good thing. Okay, pentacles. Financial loss, lacking, anxiety, isolation. This is just basically the worst things that could happen in this pentacle house. You know, this is about finances and abundance and all these things. This is the opposite. But you have to fall. You have to fail and have hard times in order to appreciate what comes next in the sixes. So we had our ups and downs. Okay. Now we're reaching the sixes. Now you have something to be grateful for and you can share it, realizing your gratitude. You cannot really understand what amazing gifts you have in your life and really feel genuinely the gratitude unless you understand what it's like not to have those things. Not even specifically those things, but you get a new appreciation when you've lost things that you valued. Or you get a new appreciation for when you're having abundance and success. If you've experienced the lack and failure, you know. So now the sixes is you're starting to really even out. Things are getting better. The sun has come out, you know, of this horrible journey. Well, it's a wonderful journey, but you know, the last card was a horrible period of the journey. Probably. Maybe not horrible. That might be a strong word, okay? The degree in which these things occur varies a lot. So, I I want to point out the cups here is really about nostalgia, the past, remembering childhood and innocence, and even if you don't have a great childhood, even if your childhood was actually crap, okay, this isn't just about your childhood, but it's mostly about appreciating the youth, appreciating the new, the fresh, and the childlike wonder that could happen now past this time. Maybe you just have a sense of feeling good about things, about some things, you know, about maybe parts of your past that were good, or maybe um, people in your life, an actual child that you're enjoying seeing grow up or something. Um, and then also we've got the sword, so you're overcoming the obstacle, transitioning, moving forward past that struggle. You've reached a rite of passage. That's a big one, is the rite of passage, and you see that actually the graphic here is they're on a like a river passage kind of. Um, and they're being guarded by all those swords. They're protected all around them. The mother and the child there are being protected and ferried along. And so you know they made it out of the war zone. You know, they really made it out. They've escaped. So the wands, success, acceptance, recognition, self-esteem. You've been working. You've been so impassioned working for this goal. Now finally you have that recognition you've been working for. That credibility, the stature, the self-esteem, the success. You know, all that you've been gleaming, like you wanting. And it doesn't have to mean that you've been wanting it, okay? But in this narrative of this story, to help you remember, we're talking about a specific goal of the wands, right? So, or like a story the wands are taking. And so that's the time when they've reached that point. And these are the sixes. So I like to think of this as being the successful sixes. And also just remember it's the one after five, and five just flat sucks. All right, so then we have the pentacles, which is abundance, giving and receiving wealth and material gain, charity, generosity. And it's really important because after having financial ruin and having basically nothing, this is really saying you've had nothing. Now you've got stuff again. You need to give back. You need to give to people because you know what it's like to struggle. You know what it's like to go through that, what it's like to have this, you know, whatever it is, this material lack, and now you have the means to give back, to be generous, give to charity. Even if you're not rich, if you're not hugely abundant, you have some abundance, you have enough to help someone else reach abundance, at least a little bit. Um, and that also just breeds more abundance because, you know, the karmic cycle and all of that. So this is really what that's guiding you towards, because because now we're on a road up, of course, except for swords, because nobody likes swords. Okay, um, the sevens. Things are not what they immediately seem like. This is could be a warning. But it's things were crappy for a while. Then things started getting better, and this isn't saying things aren't getting better, but it is saying, okay, things are getting better. Let's be a little cautious because, yeah, things are going up, but is this practical? Ask the cups. The cups are like, okay, so you've got all these emotions, right? You got wishful thinkings, opportunities, and this illusion of things are just, oh, they're getting so good, and I can do this. I can feel like I actually can do this, and I can be happy, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yes, okay, you can be happy, but let's be practical about it. Don't buy 6 dogs at once. That's a bad idea. I know they're cute, but calm down. I know they're really cute, but that's not a good idea. Swords. This is deception, sneaky, getting away with something, betrayal, and often it means that someone's maybe lying to you or there's an untruth that you need to unveil. But it doesn't necessarily mean that. Sometimes it could just mean strategizing well because there are obstacles on every path, and you can sneak past those obstacles if you're careful. So this is kind of just saying like, hey, I know the road looks easy, but there might be some landmines, guys. Like, I know it seems like the war is over, but sometimes we still find grenades from the war, all right? So then now we're looking at the wands. This is a challenge, protection, pursuance, determination, strength. It's basically the wands is saying just stay determined. Don't let off. I know you've been passionate, then you kind of lost a little bit of your nerve or you lost a little bit of your excitement because things went to shit. Well, they got a little bit better. Now keep pushing on. Don't settle with this. Keep your strength, protect your goal, pursue it, be determined, face the challenge and keep going. Don't settle. And then the pentacles is look at the long-term situation because it's easy to really be caught up and excited about this finally having some abundance and finally having this material wealth that you've wanted, especially after such a crisis, but really don't just take in all those luxury. You got to think long term, be practical, continue on forward investing, be sustainable with your goals and your practices to get toward where you want to go. Slow and steady wins the race. Um, and that's sevens. And oh, before I talk about eights, I accidentally moved past that too soon. I like to think of it as successful sevens. So, yeah, things are going successful, but don't forget it could be also kind of sneaky sevens. So, the sneaky sevens, you got to watch out. All right, the successful sneaky sevens. Okay. Um, Now we're moving on to the eights. So, just like the number of the figure eight, it has two sides, that top circle and the bottom circle. Well, this number in tarot is also kind of two-sided. Um, Giving up, being your own worst enemy, or sticking it out and taking action and pushing through the hard way. So you've kind of got two sides. You've got the cups and the swords, which are the kind of negative sides of this, where if you are too much into your emotion and you let that control you too much, you've got escape, abandonment, leaving, disappointment, withdrawal, just giving up, and that's kind of like, okay, just last time we were doing our sevens here, things were maybe a little illusory. We're like, okay, are we being practical here? Are we? And then we look at it and we're like, well, we can't do everything we wanted. Damn it. And we just let our emotion take that away and now we want to give up. We're like, if I can't have everything I wanted right when I wanted it, then I give up. So that's kind of the path we're taking here at this moment. And then the swords are you're holding yourself back. You've got kind of a victim mentality. You're in your own way. So, we were looking at the minefield, maybe being cautious and trying to be strategic. But don't forget that while you're being strategic, you still got to move forward. Don't get stuck looking at all that because now our war, basically, they're thinking, oh, but there's this giant minefield in the way. I'm never going to get past that. Why does there always have to be a minefield? Why can't the war just be over? that is holding yourself back. That's the victim mentality, and that's in your own way, and that's what this card is all about. This person just tied themselves up beside the minefield and said, "Why me? Why does it have to never be over?" Well, just keep going. Maybe it will be. Well, not for you, swords. You're just out of luck. But, you know, anyway. The wands, turbulent, fast change, travel, movement, action. So this is because wands is such like a charged forward, powerful, driven suit, that after really looking at their situation and being like, okay, we got to keep going, push through, push through. They got over the hump, and now they're like, stuff is changing, stuff is moving, things are happening. We kept on our course and it's working. I think the wands are going to win this war, by the way. And then the pentacles, practice, skill building, mastery, apprenticeship. They were slow and steady. They planned for the future in that last step, and now they are practicing. They're building that skill. They're reaching mastery. They're getting that apprenticeship. They're pushing through and learning that really solid foundation that's going to lead them on to 9, which, to cap the pentacles really quick, is abundance and wealth, luxury, independence, self-reliance, success. You worked so hard, you kept plowing through, slow and steady, learning your new skills, becoming sufficient or proficient at it. And now look at what you've obtained. This is amazing. Wands, resilient, determination, grit, boundaries, hard work. So through all of what they did, they made a ton of fast change. Now they're having to really test. They kept powering through. They used a lot of motivation to power through. And then things changed really fast, but that is not over. They need to show grit to make it stick, because determination, boundaries, hard work, that's the 9s. So, when they say, like, well, she's got it in spades, she's got it in 9s, she's dressed to the 9s, they're talking about, like, all out. That's really what this is. This is like taking it and going all out. Okay, the outcomes of the journey, essentially. So with cups, you've got satisfaction, contentment, desires fulfilled. Your cup is full. You got, water flowing out of the wine, probably at this point, filling out of those cups, like, abundantly, right? You're satisfied. Anxiety, depression, nightmares, fear, internal suffering for the swords, because you took that war and you just kept on going. The 9s is like if you like multiplied the war that you're fighting by 9. Right? I mean, the swords, I told you, the swords just suck, all right? Well, the beginning of the swords are fine, but anyway. Uh, Resilient, determination, grit, boundaries, wands, okay. Pentacles, abundance, wealth. We went over this. So, it's really, think of 9 as being the almost absolute completion of satisfaction. Almost total perfect completion of it. Except for the swords, which is almost total and complete disaster. But that's because it's anxiety, depression, nightmares, fear, internal suffering. That's basically if you just took war and took the worst of it, or at least nearly the worst, because 10's still coming up. Watch out. What did I say? This guy's being stabbed by 10 swords, which seems a bit excessive. Really, I think he was dead after like 1 or 2, but I guess they're just being safe. So this is the epitome of the fulfillment of the suit's journey. So you've got the cups, which is divine love, fulfillment, alignment, harmony, cherished joy, overflowing emotion and love and relationship. Then you've got the swords, which is war, of course, horrible end, loss, grief, sadness, crisis, wounds, betrayal, awful. Okay, just terrible. I kind of feel bad for them, but they had it coming. I mean, they just kept fighting the damn war. And then you've got the wands, which are burdens, hard work, responsibility, finishing, taking it all on. So at the end of this hard-fought battle, they've been working really hard. They're just always pushing forward, always going. They had that grit. Now they've got hard work. Still, they've got a lot of responsibilities, tons of burdens on themselves. They're taking it all on. But they're getting it done. They're almost at the end here. They're finishing it. It's amazing. Sometimes even this could mean really you're basically there. You're almost totally done with this finish. And then you have in here in the tens of pentacles, you got wealth, long-term success, stability, family. You know those families that are like old money? That's this. This is old money, man. Charity, establishment. This is really building your whole empire, establishing yourself. In the material world being so hyper abundant. So really, the tens are a really good full picture of all of it. Now, that being said, I want to really, really emphasize when you get this Ten of Swords, you're not having this horrible end. I mean, it says horrible end, of course. It's not just this horrible, disastrous end, right? It's not this awful, just this terrible thing. It might be. Okay, it really might be. Sometimes this card shows up in the past. Sometimes you suffered a horrible loss, and this is acknowledging that as your past. Sometimes right now you're going through a crisis, and that's what this is. It's this really big crisis, and it's saying, okay, right now you're in a crisis. We know that. We see that. And that's what the tarot is telling you at this point. It's not saying your story is going to end in crisis necessarily, unless that's the card you pull, but it may not be. It may be saying if you keep on this path, you're going to end in crisis, because that's what tarot is. It's really it's expressing to you what your path is doing. It's answering your questions. That's why we use tarot, so that we can get a clear look and act accordingly. So when I say this is the story of these suits, this is so you can remember what all these cards mean by remembering the story and remembering how it goes up and then it comes down to either a horrible end or a nice wrap up, you know? So just keep that in mind, that just because the card is terrible, I mean, the swords suck, right? They don't suck necessarily in the reading, depending on where they're at. They might actually be something really positive because you're seeing this in the past and your future cards are great. That you see that that's in the past and it's not coming back, right? Or it could be a question like, am I going to finally get rid of this horrible addiction? Or am I going to get rid of this thing? And it's saying, yes, this addiction's going to end. Yeah, you have some wounds. Yeah, it's kind of you went through a crisis and that's what finally got you out of it, right? That's what this is about. So, just keep that in mind, that the meaning is different than necessarily. So, here we have the minor arcana again, so I can just kind of recap. You got the court cards here on the tops of each of these. Okay, we got the court, the king, queen, knight, swords, and then all of the above. If you look here even, you've got the beginning. Uh-oh, stuff's not going good. Take a break. Uh-oh, stuff really sucks. Like, I'm going through, I'm sorry, I don't know if my pointer shows up. Well, it doesn't. Okay, sorry. So, you've got your swords. You've got these are the close-ups of all the pictures again here. You've got your king, um, who is really a master of the swords, master of action and words and all these things. So if this card comes up, it's a wonderful sign. It means that your actions, your words, your thoughts are really carrying the weight and well executed they need to do to reach the point where they are at your end goal of whatever it is. It's a good thing. Queen of Swords, Knight of Swords, Page of Swords, all of these are great taking action. Ace of Swords, new action, new starts, new beginnings, great things. The 2, also great. 3, okay, now stuff is starting to get not so good because we're taking too much. We're going too much into the zone without all the other stuff. So, but I don't know how many people would get a whole line of swords as their life story, right? This is just the story of the swords, so that it shows the full range of what the swords mean from the beginning to the end. The cups, again, it starts with the Ace of Cups here being new relationships, emotions, things. It takes it on a whole journey, through life. You've got new friendships. You've got amazing rich friendships and love, and you've got all the way through to remembering a childhood or enjoying the youth and the relationship that that can offer. Sometimes it's a grandparent looking at their grandchild or children. Um, moving all the way to this wonderful, big, abundant, happy family kind of a thing. So it's a story. And this helps you remember what the cards all are and mean. The wands, you're on a journey. You're on this journey and you come home for a bit to visit, sharing your journey, and then you set out and things aren't so great for a minute. But then you keep pushing forward and work really hard. And that journey eventually leads you you know, to getting right there where you have a lot of responsibility, but with that, a lot of power. Pentacles, now you're just basically going from having, a great beginning all the way through to, okay, there's a moment of crap for a bit because you have to suffer in order to appreciate. Um, and then abundance. Major Arcana. Okay, now we're talking about the big game changers, the life-changing cards. And I'm going to go over these with a little bit of brevity because I can define the cards for you and they make sense for what they are, and I'll help you remember them a bit. But I don't think you'll have a lot of trouble remembering them once I've explained them. And if you do, you can always look them up and remember them again, but it really only takes a couple times of working with them after you know what they mean, especially the way I'll describe them here, to never really forget what they mean. So the Fool. You have the innocent, free-spirited, beginnings and waltzing into things with a childlike sense of wonder, carefree, encouraging to continue forth without fear of what's to come. And while this seems like, okay, a fool is usually a bad thing, that's really not the case here. This is kind of saying, you've got this desire to just go on forth into the world and make your way. And this is actually a card that's really encouraging you to make that choice. Take that leap. Do it. This is the time. You are protected. This dog here on the card is protection. He is symbolizing the white purity and protection. The sun is out. Yeah, there's mountains in the distance, which mean there's obstacles ahead, but right now is the time to take that leap and worry about the obstacles later. You'll face them, you'll have the skill to deal with that, but that's not what you need to focus on now. It's the moving forward, waltzing ahead like a damn fool, because we all need to be fools sometimes. Sometimes you overthink things and then you never take action, and just be a little fool sometimes. The magician is the one that manifests things. Basically, someone who turns the idea into reality. Strawn to gold. Essentially, imagine that the magician is this man that reaches up into the sky and and forces his hand through a cloud into the spirit realm. He's got this thing he desires. He finds it in the spirit realm and then yanks it down into the material world, bringing it directly into existence, into the world. So he pulls the desires from the spirit realm of universal energy and places them directly into the material world. This is manifesting things. This is really saying that the things you want, the goals you have are coming to fruition. This is going to be usually pretty quick, pretty effortless. And that's what this guy's all about. He's a magician. He's going to make it happen. And he's going to do it now. That rabbit is coming out of that hat, whether it was there before or not. Okay, the High Priestess is the guardian that stands between the veil between the conscious and subconscious realms. She connects you to the divine feminine, intuition, spiritual world, and your own subconscious. And she's the one that stands between what you see in everyday life and what you feel in your intuition. She represents spiritual enlightenment and divine wisdom and tells you that now is the time to be in touch with your intuition and access the information there. So she's guarding the back of your mind, right between where your thoughts happen and where your inner knowing is. And when this card comes, it's like she's knocking on the glass between the veil and saying, hello, hello, you gotta come here. Because there's a message for you. Come here, there's a message. And that's what this High Priestess is here for. She's on the other side of that veil saying, okay, there's a message from the other side here, you gotta come listen. The Empress is intensely feminine. A bit of a sensual minx, and I like the word minx there, because she is indulgent and luxurious and demands of you to indulge your creativity and feminine energy by enjoying the abundance of pleasures available to you. Imagine an empress sitting on her throne being fed grapes and having a manicure done and someone fanning her, and it's just such a beautiful, wonderful, pleasurable experience. She's at a spa, she has a creative hobby she's enjoying, music perhaps, and is appreciating the beauty of all things stimulating the senses: sight, smell, touch, taste, and sound. And this empress is spoiled, but maybe she spoiled herself. So, the emperor is a powerful leader. He's the tarot daddy. That's how I like to see the emperor. He is a firm but fair ruler. He protects, he's a provider, and that signals, usually when he shows up, he's signaling either somebody or you are the wise leader who sets the rules and uses your power to protect and defend those dear to you. Strategy and organization are things to remember right now in taking advantage of his power, because when he shows up, that will help you, and he will help you to make that happen. The Emperor is really a strong card. The Hierophant is a spiritual doctrine, values, beliefs that relate to a religion or formal spiritual practice. Usually, this calls you to learn, study, and explore traditions and core principles, or honor your family and the traditions they have in your ancestry, maybe. Um, and it's essentially a card that points out a doctrine or established system that needs to be acknowledged. Whether you need to adopt it, maybe not necessarily, but perhaps you need to explore some existing religions or some existing spiritual practices, and that's the key you're missing. Maybe you don't need to adopt the whole practice, but who knows? Maybe you'll find a certain type of meditation that really calls to you in some form of shamanism or some Wiccan tradition or some spell work that you find you really love that exists already in a pre existing set of values that really resonates. And maybe you don't adopt the whole thing, but you do some, or maybe it's a family tradition that makes you feel really grounded in your roots. So the Hierophant is strong for making you really look at structure, and thinking about different structures and how to incorporate that spiritually, or on a deeper, more intuitive level. The Lovers. Now, this may look like just love, which sometimes it is, but it really means open communication, with yourself and with others, honesty with yourself and others, a deep connection and love, romantic or friendship, not just with another person, but in many ways just with yourself, learning to understand and appreciate yourself with love and make the decisions about what you want in this lifetime and what your value system is. So sometimes it's, setting the boundaries and adjusting with the loved ones in your life and the value systems that you all work together with, and it's communicating all of that together. But sometimes it's just figuring it out for yourself too. It suggests the possibility of solutions that involve portions of both sides of a choice, or a harmonious balance from both sides. So that communication, that connection and love, that's a two-way road. It takes a lot of balance and compromise and work, and sometimes that's coming from a conflict in your life. The Lovers means that you need to look at both solutions, both people's solutions, or both sides, and see, can we adopt parts of both of these to make something we're both happy with, both equally happy with, not necessarily both equally miserable about. You're like, well, at least we'll both suffer equally. That's not always the case. There is a harmonious balance much of the time, and it just takes a little more looking to find it. And that could be in a relationship or just even within yourself or at work or other places. The Lover's all about that communication and working through things. The Wheel of Fortune is kind of a harsh reality sometimes. Change is constant. Good things return when they are meant to in time. And that's a good thing. It's a really optimistic card, and it's really showing you that the good is coming back. If you're in a hard time, it's not going to last forever. It's a wheel, it's a cycle, a big cycle. And also, it reminds us of the circle of karma. What goes around comes around, and the universe is coming around. Not all bad will stay forever, and good is coming soon. It's a critical turning point is coming. And that could be karmically. That could be, that a good change or a bad change or just a different phase in your life. It just means that the phase of life, the cycle of life, the cycle of the universe, the cycle of karma, it all goes in a big circle. Circle of life kind of a deal, It's a big circle. Justice demands that we take responsibility for our actions. This doesn't really mean that you're guilty of something. Okay, it could come from many different sides, okay, depending on what your question is, depending on what the situation you're reading for is. But while that seems harsh, it is always fair. So it's reassuring in some ways, because if you've done something wrong and you're concerned that the punishment will be outweighing the crime, this is a reassurance that your punishment, well, not punishment, but the way that karma comes back to you is equal and fair. Do not fear the unnecessarily harsh outcome of your actions. Rather, expect equal and appropriate justice to be served, whether it's in your favor against somebody else or a reality you must face within yourself. Maybe you're not treating yourself right. Maybe you're blaming yourself for something that you don't deserve to blame yourself for. Justice is centered around seeking of the truth, and often stands in readings as simply the seeking of new internal truths, where your current belief system is not holding up anymore. So, big time. That's a lot of times. That's what it is. I find most of the time. It's that you are cheating yourself and doing yourself an injustice by holding on to a belief system that's not serving you. And you're not going to be punished for that, okay? But justice is going to come around by showing you the truth of that and allowing you to figure out that that needs to change, essentially, or or figuring out a good way to proceed. The Hanged Man. Hang on, hold up, cut yourself down from this news. It will kill you. Not literally, probably. But the way you're going about things right now is going to stop your desired course of action in their tracks. Don't get hung up on the thought patterns and behaviors that you've always had. Let go of the ones that are suffocating your progress. Okay, I'll stop. I'm sorry. The puns, I couldn't help it. Don't push forward when things come to a sudden stop. Sometimes the universe stops you because something new, something better is coming, and if you're too busy with the old stuff, tying that damn noose around your neck, it'll pass on by and you'll be tied up and you won't notice, you won't be able to go after it. There you are on the gallows, and along rides your steed you were looking for. Well, that sucks. So, I like to think of this as like your horse ran away, and so, but you needed to get somewhere, so then you went to go steal a horse, and now they're hanging you for it because you just kept going through with it. You pulled this card in your hanging, or in your hanging, Jesus, in your reading, and it said, "Yo, hey, stop it! Don't try to steal a horse. Good things are coming. Relax. Just stop what you're doing. You'll find the answer. It's coming a different way." But you still stole the horse, so now the city's gonna hang you. And as you're being hung, you see your horse walking right by. You're like, "Well, god damn it, I didn't need to do that." That's what the hangman is. I just like to picture him being hung and being very upset about it. Although he's hanging by his ankle, so it's a little less morbid, but anyway, he's still probably not very happy. All the blood's rushing to his head, and that's uncomfortable. Actually, I wonder if that can kill him over time. I don't know. Okay, the death card is probably not literal. Probably not literal in death that someone's dying, okay? Sometimes it shows up in the sense that maybe you're a medium, or maybe you need to speak with the medium, or maybe someone who has died is relevant in this situation. But usually this shows up when the death of a certain chapter in your life occurs, or a relationship, or an ideal that you were clinging to. It's the death of that which no longer serves you, making way for a much more satisfying future. The flowers in the meadow must die to make room for the new ones in the spring. This is a massive change. Maybe a little bit uncomfortable, but worth it in the end, because growing pains happen when the biggest growth is upon us. And I can't even tell you how many times I've seen this card and thought, "Oh my god, I like my life right now. I don't want things to change." And then it does, and I come out the other side, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm so glad that left. I'm so glad those old habits died. I'm so glad that crap I was thinking before, following before, believing and working towards, or that relationship I had, is gone, because now I can blossom. Now I'm free to grow." So death is actually a very good card. Temperance. Stabilize. Balance. Moderation. Be patient. Take the middle path and try to blend. Work together, even keel and peaceful, harmony and tranquility. Imagine you are a master Jedi and you have a balance of the good and the dark in you, and you're just perfectly even keel right in the middle. May the force be with you. You've got this. Um, Basically, just be patient, keep on, moderation, don't indulge too much, don't get too snappy or angry, just work together, try to maintain the peace in whatever group you're in and get through it. It's gonna be fine. The devil is your shadow self. These are the negative habits and qualities in your life. Basically, the devil on your shoulder, or the monkey on your back. You can call it the devil on your back. And this is the relationships, addictions, thought patterns that trap you in instant gratification, but they bring you long term pain. So you're hurting yourself. Stop it. This shows up when there is an opportunity to bring these influences to light and eradicate them. This card says now is the time, it is possible. So if you thought you were drowning in whatever this was, that you could never get out, that abusive relationship you could never get out of, this addiction will always keep you, that's not true. This card shows up to tell you now is the time, you can get out of it, get out of it. Now is the moment. You have an out, you have a way, or the way is really close, you just got to start on the path. You'll get there. Okay, the tower. The ship is sinking. I hate to break it to you, but when the tower comes around, everything is falling apart. Okay, maybe not everything, but whatever your reading is about is falling apart. The tower is falling, and a lot of potentially uncomfortable and big changes are about to take place. It shines a big light on false beliefs, lies, misinformation, and things you trusted in that it turns out are not trustworthy. I like to think of this as someone built you this tower, you got it for extra cheap, and they're like, I can build it for you, it'll be sturdy, it'll be great, and it'll build up super strong and be perfect. And you're like, sweet, let's do it. It built. And now it's crumbling because that is not the case. Well, you'd rather it crumble now than when you've got your penthouse at the top, all right? Because chaos and destruction are here. Don't be afraid. This destruction is here to help you. It sets fire to the lies, it eliminates that shit from your life, and it's probably going to be hard. But you will grow from it. You will be wiser for it, and it is only here because it's necessary for your higher self. And I drew this tower card not that long ago, and then I got divorced. I had a huge, my whole life went up in flames, basically. It was a disaster, okay? But now I'm so happy. Like, I mean, I was, that period of time was miserable. It was really hard. But the person I am now is really strong and so much wiser, and I would never trade those experiences for anything in the world. And as hard as it was, don't be scared of it because you got this. The tower only comes when you are strong enough to handle that fallout. Because you can build a 10 times better tower after this one falls with the ashes. I'm just letting you know. You're a damn phoenix. You got this. The star. The rainbow after the storm. This is the best card ever to come after that tower because the star brings a very welcome rest and joy that is well deserved and needed after that giant burning tower card. Transformation, uplifting, divine energy, and a peaceful phase of great stability and calm that can now be really appreciated as magic flows. Time to open yourself up to the new and have a new fresh start. The star is like that twinkling wish upon a star kind of a thing. You've got this, ashen tower at your feet, but don't look at it as an ashen tower because actually now you have this big clear plot of land. Maybe it burned some of the, dead stumps and stuff around, so now it's even more space to build a bigger tower. Maybe you found a new quarry that has even better stones or something. I don't know. Okay, I'm going too far with this. But the star is the brightness after the storm. The moon is about your fear and buried feelings and mental blocks or pain that you shoved in the back of your mind and just left there. You're in need to pay attention to your intuition and use your inner self to help guide you toward healing and allow your true self, your current self, to shine free from the hurts of the past. Now, I like to think of this because a lot of people charge their crystals in the moon. They put them on the windowsill so the moonlight can shine in. Um, and a lot of people are afraid of the dark. So think of it as the moon being the guiding light um, that makes it not so dark outside when you're afraid. And it also is the guiding light in the sense that your intuition is your guide. And it can help you to move forward and charge your crystals, essentially, of your inner self and move on to heal from those past hurts. So use that moon to help you see the path ahead when it's pitch black outside. The sun. Be strong, shine bright, radiance will flow, and you'll have happiness and joy. You are abundant, and you are filled with energy and invigoration. Life is good, and everything will work out. Look at this naked baby on a horse. You never saw a horse so damn tiny, because that's definitely a baby, and that's a horse, and the baby is not falling off, because where the hell is his mother? But he doesn't care. He is strong, he is shining bright, or she, I don't know. Radiance will flow and they will have happiness and joy until they fall off that damn horse because we know what's going to happen. Um, okay, but no, really. They're going to be invigorated. Life is good. It's working out. The sun came out. Now we're warm. Look at these beautiful sunflowers. I love sunflowers. And this red scarf. I don't know what the hell that means, but it's pretty. Maybe it's a flag. Actually, this looks like a flag. It is. The baby's holding a flag and he's on a horse and he's under the sun and he's going to get sunburned. Okay, judgment. Level the F up. Make some big decisions. Trust your intuition and higher self. You have good judgment. And you need to let go of the past, view your situation and the path that lies before you, and make a choice. Trust your judgment. You got this. Things are falling into place, and they're going to really show you the full tapestry of your life. So you need to heal that and make that choice to move forward. Make that judgment call. You got this. I believe in you. Judgment, man. You're not being judged. It's your inner judgment that's going to discern where you're headed, and you are in executive control. And that's what this is about. It's going to say, even with that past that you see and the life that you have ahead of you, not in spite of necessarily, but you're going to see it all clearly, and you're going to know where your next step is, and you need to trust that because you have good judgment. The world. You are whole and accomplished. You feel fulfilled and may honor your success and achievement. Reflect on your life and accomplishments and celebrate with joy and gratitude. Give your journey its due respect and triumph before moving on to your next project. It has earned it. You have earned it. This is like the ultimate trump card. Trump. Tarot actually was like triumph or trump card, basically. Like that's what it used to kind of mean. That was the game was about when it was just a game. But the world is like the ultimate card. It's the ultimate card. Anyway, so these are. This is tarot. This is the tarot deck. These are the tarot cards. And I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope this has helped you learn all the different cards and maybe help you remember them. Um, and I hope that I wasn't boring because I watched a few of these videos and they don't really teach them in a way that I found really relatable. They were useful, sure, but I think that really seeing it as a story and feeling the cards and their personalities really helps a lot. And unfortunately, the delivery on some of them were a little boring, um, and some of them were great. And I hope that I'm one of the good ones, and I hope that this has helped you because that's what I want to do. That's why I did this. People wanted more information about tarot, and I wanted to research more about it so that I could give you a really full, thorough video about it. So I did that, and I hope this has really helped. Beginner's Tarot. Enjoy, and also happy reading, but not in the sense that you're reading a book, although I hope you do that too. Anyway, all right, bye.